After the struggle of the First World War, and the victors sufficiently armed in vigilance. But errors were soon made. America's failure to enter the League of Nations, the weakness and lack of resolution of Western democracies to confront the growing strength of the fascist dictators in Germany, Italy and Japan, and the economic turmoil that allowed these events to spark and build. 7th of September 1939, Polish commanders negotiated a ceasefire, with the last Polish military unit surrendering on October 6th. Altogether, Poland lost 70,000 troops against the German invaders, and another 50,000 against the USSR, with 133,000 being wounded. The Germans took over 700,000 Polish prisoners, and the Soviets another 300,000. 150,000 Poles managed to escape, many coming to Great Britain and enlisting in the armed forces. For Hitler, the invasion of Poland was his third successful annexation of a foreign country. He had got what he wanted, and the Western powers had once again done nothing. This period became known as the Phony War, because Britain and France took no military action despite declaring war on Germany. Blitzkrieg had been a major success, and over the course of the next few months, Hitler continuously said that he didn't want a war in the West. Stalin was afraid that Finland would fall under German influence, as Leningrad was only 20 miles away from the Finnish border. The Soviets demanded the Finns succeed territory on the Karelian Isthmus as to put Leningrad out of danger. The Finns refused, and so the Soviet Union launched military action on the 30th of November 1939. The Soviet army outnumbered the Finns 50-1, and in equipment outmatched them in almost every way. But the Finns fought with great tenacity, wearing white uniforms as to blend into the snow and outmanoeuvring the Red Army. Finland resisted Soviet attacks for more than 2 months and inflicted considerable damage. After the Soviet military reorganized itself and adopted different tactics, they continued their offensive in February, overcoming Finnish defences. The war came to an end in March 1940 with the signing of the Moscow Peace Treaty, with Finland surrendering 11% of its territory to the Soviet Union. The dreadful performance of the Red Army in Finland encouraged Hitler to think that an attack on the Soviet Union would be successful, and confirmed to the Western powers that the Soviet military was not the best equipped or organised, something that wouldn't be fully tested for another 15 months with the German launch of Operation Barbarossa. In April of 1940, Adolf Hitler made a huge strategic gamble. His plan was to send the whole strength of the German Navy along the Norwegian coast, from Oslo to Narvik, to protect the coastal waterways. Swedish iron ore could then be safely transported to German blast furnaces, and German control of Norwegian waters would make an Allied blockade of Germany a lot harder. British discontent over the Norwegian campaign and an Allied withdrawal led to the resignation of Neville Chamberlain on the 10th of May 1940. His successor was appointed the same day, a man who throughout the 1930s had spoken out regarding German rearmament and Hitler's threat to the world, a man who went by the name of Winston Churchill. On the 10th of May 1940, Germany launches an attack against France, Belgium, Luxembourg and the Netherlands. French troops quickly positioned themselves along the Maginot Line, and the rest of the Allied soldiers positioned themselves along the Belgium and Luxembourg borders. As Belgium was neutral, Allied soldiers could not enter the country and prepare a defensive position, and so would have to wait for Germany to invade. Germany began their offensive in the early hours of the morning. With more than 1,000 fighters, bombers and dive bombers, they attacked Allied airfields, destroying their air force on the ground before they could even take flight, something that would be crucial in giving the Luftwaffe air superiority for the rest of the offensive. Just 3 hours after being attacked, Belgium permits Allied troops to enter the country. Due to the great mobility of German panzers and motorised infantry divisions, the Allied forces never had the time to establish a practical defence, and within the day, Luxembourg is captured. Sporting nearly 2.5 million men, the German invasion worked with great efficiency. 3 army groups were to be used for the invasion: Army Group A, B and C. Army Group B was tasked with defeating the Netherlands and then advancing into Belgium to keep the Allied forces in place. Army Group C were to attack through the Maginot Line, keeping those soldiers in place and protecting the flank of Army Group A, comprising of 750 pushed through the Ardennes forest, a naturally fortified area, something the French were not expecting to be entered or breached. 41,000 vehicles successfully made their way through the Ardennes forest. The Germans then crossed the Meuse River and by May 15th capture Sedan. They then head west, cutting off and surrounding the entire Allied army that had advanced into Belgium. This unexpected push through the Ardennes would force Allied soldiers out of Belgium, with them having to withdraw to the port of Dunkirk to protect their flank. With the Allies completely surrounded by German forces, Winston Churchill launches a plan to evacuate the British Expeditionary Force from northern France. 400,000 Allied troops are stranded on the beaches of Dunkirk, and on May 26, Operation Dynamo begins. By air, the Luftwaffe constantly attack the soldiers stranded on the beaches and sink many ships, and by land, German artillery fires upon the shore. The Royal Air Force in response launches a counter-attack to protect the ships and soldiers. Invasion of Britain no longer possible. Across the globe, on the 26th of November 1941, the Japanese carrier fleet set sail in the Northern Pacific. Its target was a US naval base in Hawaii, which went by the name of Pearl Harbor. What had been confined to a mainly European war was now to be transformed into the deadliest global conflict in human history. Crimes were committed by the Germans under the Hitlerite domination to which they allowed themselves to be subjected, which find no equal in scale and wickedness with any that have darkened the human record. The wholesale massacre by systematized processes of 6 or 7 millions of men, women and children in the German execution camps exceeds in horror the rough and ready butcheries of Genghis Khan, and its scale reduces them to pygmy proportions. Deliberate extermination of whole populations was contemplated and pursued by both Germany and Russia in the Eastern War. The hideous process of bombarding open cities from the air, once started by the Germans, was repaid 20-fold